You've been mentioning that, I think 5 times na, yung Supreme Court ruling. So kung nagbabanggit po kayo ng Supreme Court ruling, pakibigay po sa amin yung ruling na yon. Yung GR naman nga sinasabi ni Senator Win. Otherwise, huwag niyo na pong gamitin yung sinasabing palagi niyo pa ulit-ulit for the fifth times yung sinasabi niyo meron pong Supreme Court ruling. So kung meron pong Supreme Court ruling, nasaan? So before you open your mouth, dapat
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
alam mo sinasabi mo at back up yan ng dokumentong meron ka na sa harap mo na ginagamit mo na sinasabi mong Supreme Court ruling.
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
So, wala ho kayo noon? Hindi mo matandaan?
Not with me right now. Mr.
Oh, so next time, you're a lawyer. Dapat pag nasa korte ka, di ba? Pag magbanggit ka ng Supreme Court ruling, sasabihin mo yung ruling na yon, mag-specify mo kung ano yung ruling na yon. Di ba? Ganun dapat pag ang patakaran, being a lawyer.
Well, preferably, Mr. Chairman.
Di ba? Preferably.
Yeah.
Dapat. Pag nasa korte pa lang tayo, kung akong judge, pinagalitan na kita, sinabunan kita, baka pinalabas na kita sa korte. Kasi you're not doing your homework. Babanggit-banggit kang Supreme Court ruling. Tapos ngayon, tatanungin ko sa'yo, anong ruling na yon, anong GR number na, hindi mo mabigay. Kung akong judge, palalabasin kita. Sasabihin ko, you're talking nonsense. Senator Win, meron kang gusto sabihin? Kanina, tumataas ka.
Sure, if with your permission, I want to pursue sana yung nabuksan nyo kanina about that participation of the Chinese national.
Go ahead, Senator Win. Sorry.
Yeah, that's an interesting discovery, Mr. Chair, by yourself. I was listening intently earlier. So right now, the Filipinos own 60%, correct? But under that shareholder agreement, the meetings cannot be organized if the Chinese will not agree. Tama ba?
Theoretically, Mr. Chairman.
So for
Same
example,
thing with the Filipinos.
no. For example, a quorum, you will only need 51%, correct?
That's correct.
So
Mr. Chair.
theoretically, the Filipinos can organize by themselves to convene the board.
That's correct, Mr. Chairman.
But because of that provision, they cannot.
Well, they still can, Mr. Chairman. It's just that in order for any board meeting to occur,
No.
there should be a notice. So you have to
Yeah.
notify
Siyempre, that goes without saying. I'm just keeping this simple, no? So 60% ang Pinoy, but because of that provision, they cannot convene the board.
each shareholder has to be represented in a board meeting, Mr.
No,
Chairman.
but they can they convene or not convene?
Well,
Even though they have 60%,
they can convene,
they can convene, they can do business.
they have to suspend for like what I said, Mr. Chairman, twice. After that, if
No, so they cannot convene.
they cannot convene.
Yeah, the simple
twice,
answer is
yeah.
they cannot
Sir,
convene
sir,
until
sir.
2 times, no? But the Constitution is very clear that 60% should be owned by Filipinos, correct? And the reason for that is because Filipinos should make the decision, correct? But how can they make a decision if they cannot convene?
Well, that's the point, Mr. Chairman. They can still convene.
No, but that's after 3. But for example, there's something urgent. I need to change management tomorrow. I need to convene this afternoon. Can they convene or not?
Can you repeat that, Mr. Chairman?
Filipino kami, no? Filipino, they have 60%. I need to change management tomorrow. I call an emergency meeting today. Can the Filipino 60% convene or not?
Yes, they can do that.
Can they change the management?
Well, they can do that within the day.
No, can they change the management?
Within the day, they can change that as long as the 2 adjournments are complied with.
So they will adjourn and then adjourn?
Yes.
Yeah, but
they
what
can
if
do
there's a sense of urgency? I need to make a decision.
You can still do that, Mr. Chairman.
On that same meeting.
Not on that same meeting because you have to adjourn, Mr.
But that's
Chair.
a de facto veto.
That's not a veto, Mr. Chairman.
But I cannot convene. I'm not, majority kami, 60%, but I cannot make any decisions. For me, that's a de facto veto by the minority.
Well, that's like what
And
I
that's not
explained.
what is being contemplated by the Constitution. The Constitution gave us 60% so we can make decisions. But if the foreigner, the Chinese, is vetoing our board meetings by that provision, then we cannot make any decisions. That's my point. My
Mr.
point is
Chair.
we're violating the Constitution
No,
because
Mr.
we
Chair.
cannot make a decision.
No, Mr. Chairman. In the first place,
Yung 2 meetings, pang palubag loob na lang yan eh. In 2 meetings, pang ano na lang
No,
yan eh. Parang, sige, para mag 2 meetings. But my point is, can we convene and make a decision right away in 1 meeting?
well, not in that.
Correct.
situation.
So, that veto sila.
Yeah. Well, Mr. Chairman, the best thing that the Chinese shareholders can do in that situation is to
In this, makasingit na po. So in this case, so parang nabaliwala yung pagiging majority ng mga Pilipino. Kasi ang decision ultimately ay dun sa minority.
No, Mr.
Diba?
Chairman,
Like
that
what
is not.
Senator Win is saying. Kasi, sir, umiikot ka eh. Right there and then, the Filipino majority cannot make decision even na majority sa kanila o even na nandoon silang lahat, even na may quorum. Kailangan talaga i-adjourn 2 beses. Oh,
May
diba?
I take a stab, Mr. Chair? At the end of the day, can they delay? Yes. Can they hold us hostage? No. Decisions can be made within the day, within the hours. It will take a few more documents, paperwork to be done. But the Filipinos, when it needs to, they can make decisions without the Chinese.
The bylaws on notice of meeting, how many days?
5 days, Mr. Chairman.
Okay,
But
so-
that can be waived.
Who will waive?
Any of all of the shareholders, if they waive that notice requirement.
That
Yeah,
can
but
be waived.
then how-
Paano kung hindi winave?
Well,
You're just saying it, that can be waived para makalusot.
Mr.
Pero what
Chair,
if they...
the bylaws are there for a reason.
But how sure are you na nasusunod po yung bylaws, sinusunod po ng Chinese?
Well, even the Filipino shareholders have to.
No, but do you have records to show na hindi nangyari ito, yung mga pinag-usapan natin dito, yung pinagdududahan namin?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Pwede ka magpakita ng records na right there and then nakapag-decision agad yung board na para i-allow yung mga Pilipino to continue with the board meeting?
No,
kahit
Mr.
wala
Chairman.
Chinese?
No, not in that situation, Mr. Chairman.
Well, yun ang sitwasyon na pinag-usapan natin
No,
dito.
because that hasn't happened, Mr. Chairman. So there is no record of that happening. That's what I've been.
Kaya nga yun nga sinasabi namin na pwedeng mangyari. Na kapag nangyari yun, dihado yung mga Pilipino, dihado yung mga majority. Pero sabi mo, hindi pa nangyari yun, na pwedeng mangyari.
Well, hindi. That's.
Para hindi nga mangyari, dapat baguhin na natin.
Mr. Chairman, the members of the board endeavor to work together all the time. They come to a consensus all the time. All of them attend meetings all the time. None of them are absent. If there is a board meeting and one is not physically present in the meeting, he has to log on.
But ang sinasabi po attorney ni Senator Win at ako, but there's that possibility na pwedeng mangyari yun. Di ba?
Mr.
No, I know you're saying it doesn't happen, pero it can happen.
Well, with all due respect, Mr. Chairman, I think,
Kaya nga para hindi na mangyari yun, dapat baguhin na natin yung procedure na yan.
in
Yung
fact,
polisiya na yan.
Mr. Chairman,
Para iwasan natin, bakit pa natin hintayin na mangyari yun? And then besides, how do we know that hindi nangyari yun?
if,
How do we know? Unless kung magpapakita pa kayo ng records na hindi nangyari yun. Can you submit to
we
us
actually,
all your records sa lahat ng mga board meetings ninyo?
Mr. Chairman, actually, we have manifested in our last submission that we will be submitting those. We just need more time to collate because we have the volume of documents that we're going to submit. And
Board meetings? Ilang beses ba kayo nagbo-board meetings kada buwan? Is it every year? Every
quarter,
every leap
Mr.
year?
Chairman.
O every quarter lang pala. So ilang quarters lang ba? Magbigay ka ng example. O kunyari, magturo ako ng 26, 27, 8, 9, 10. So quarterly lang pala. So four times
We will submit, Mr.
four
Chairman.
times a year.
We will
So
submit.
voluminous ba yun yung board meeting nyo? In a certain year, magpakita kayo ng sample sa amin. Bakit sabi nyo, pinag-aaralan nyo pa, kinukulit nyo pa?
Mr. Chairman, we have moved offices from Quezon City to San Juan, so our records
But
are
again,
still-
that cannot be the reason
I know,
you-
Mr. Chairman.
you move.
That is why we, in our last...
Kasi kung nag-move kayo, ibig sabihin, nawala yung mga papeles ninyo, kaya nahirapan
No,
kayo. So ibig
no,
sabihin,
Mr.
hindi kayo organized.
No, Mr. Chairman. That is why we manifested in our...
Hindi, kaya nga, you should never use the fact na we move. Yung mga salitang naglumipat kasi kami ng bahay, kaya hindi ko ma-provide yung dokumento, yun yung binibigyan ng mga negosyanteng
Apologize,
gustong
Mr. Chairman.
umiwas na makapagbayad ng tama sa BIR. Nawawala pa kasi mga dokumentong hiningi ng BIR, kaya sasabihin na ng palusot, lumipat kasi kami, nawawala yung mga dokumentong hiningi ng BIR, pasensya na muna. Don't ever use that. Pang mga small time na mga negosyante, yung kayo big time.
Yes,
You
Mr.
shouldn't
Chairman.
use that. Dapat
I
organized
apologize.
kayo, dapat computerized kayo.
I apologize.
Dapat hindi na
I apologize,
mano-mano.
Mr. Chairman.
With all the monies that you make by the billions, hindi mo na pwedeng palusot yan. Yung mga small time ng negosyante lang yan ang pwede magpalusot ng gano'n. Okay, sir?
We will be submitting, Mr.
Go ahead
Chairman.
po, Senator Win.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Well, Mr. Chairman, in my view, that 60/40 requirement of the Constitution, especially for public utilities, is for Filipinos to always have control of the public utility because of public interest and
We agree, Mr.
national
Chairman.
security. So Filipinos can always be in control, management-wise, finance-wise, and the operations. But how can you be in control if you cannot call for a board meeting?
Mr. Chairman, like I said earlier, even the Supreme Court has recognized that. That's a legitimate minority.
Yes, for
protection
ordinary
rights.
corporations,
No, Mr.
maybe
Chairman.
for public utility.
Yes, Mr.
Is it
Chairman.
explicit public utility?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Can you show us the
I'll-
ruling
And it
for public utility?
I'll have to go through that decision, Mr.
No,
Chairman.
give us the GR number.
I-
Hanapin natin
I
ngayon.
forgot, Mr. Chairman.
But how can you
What I'm
forget?
saying-
You cited a
No.
Supreme Court ruling that it's allowed for a public
Yes,
utility.
Mr. Chairman.
So let educate the committee. Give me the GR number. I-flash natin. Give us the educate everyone. Attorney Concepcion.
We're looking for it, Mr. Chairman.
Diba, kasi I'm applying this to a scenario wherein the Filipino shareholders would want to change the management, exert control, but they cannot. So what's
Actually,
the
they
use
can.
of this?
They
What's the
can.
then
In that
but what's the
situation,
use now of this 60/40 if I cannot call for a board meeting?
Hindi, makasingit din, ano?
Yeah.
You've been mentioning that, I think 5 times na, yung Supreme Court ruling. So kung nagbabanggit po kayo ng Supreme Court ruling, pakibigay po sa amin yung ruling na yon. Yung GR number nga, sinasabi
Wala
ni Senator Win. Otherwise, huwag niyo na pong gamitin yung sinasabing,
Yes, Mr.
palagi niyo
Chairman.
paulit-ulit for the fifth times, yung sinasabi niyo, meron pong Supreme Court ruling. So kung meron pong Supreme Court ruling, nasaan? So before you open your mouth, dapat
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
alam mo sinasabi mo at back up yan ng dokumentong meron ka na sa harap mo na ginagamit mo na sinasabi mong Supreme Court ruling.
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
So, wala ho kayo noon?
Uh,
Hindi mo
not with
matandaan?
me- Not with me right now, Mr.
Oh, so next time, you're a lawyer. Dapat pag nasa korte ka, di ba? Pag magbanggit ka ng Supreme Court ruling, sasabihin mo yung ruling na yon, mag-specify mo kung ano yung ruling na yon. Di ba? Ganun dapat pag ang patakaran, being a lawyer.
Well, preferably, Mr. Chairman.
Di ba? Preferably.
Yeah.
Dapat. Pag nasa korte pa lang tayo, kung akong judge, pinagalitan na kita, sinabon na kita, baka pinalabas na kita sa korte. Kasi you're not doing your homework. Babanggit-banggit kang Supreme Court ruling. Tapos ngayon, tatanungin ko sa'yo, anong ruling na yon, anong GR number na yun, hindi mo mabigay. Kung akong judge, palalabasin kita. Sasabihin ko, you're talking nonsense.